Good evening from London, wrestling fans. I'm your host, Ben Allison, and you are listening to Wrestling Republic's daily broadcast, your one-stop shop for professional wrestling, insight, news, and reviews on a daily basis. And yesterday, well, what a day for professional wrestling. It was truly just an absolutely stacked day. In the morning, Pro Wrestling Noah put on a phenomenal show. Then in the evening, we had AEW Collision, AEW Battle of the Belts, New Japan Battle in the Valley, and then to top it all off, the highlight of the night, in my personal opinion, TNA Hard to Kill. And today we're breaking that down. It's going to be a fun show, and for a fun show, I need a fun panel. And let's kick things off with the co-host, Clark Taylor. Clark, how are you?
Dude, I'm doing great. Last night was one of those nights that I love. Welcome to 2024. You need multiple screens to possibly consume the amount of content as a wrestling and sports fan as was on last night. I was watching the Chiefs game, New Japan, Hard to Kill, Collision all at once. I had multiple devices set up, a lot at play, but so much fun entertainment and perfect timing in the winter right now. I'm stoked to be here. Happy Sunday, everybody. Let's get into it, dude.
Let's absolutely just jump straight into things. But before we do that, let me introduce the man who was very busy last night reviewing TNA Hard to Kill, and that is Coby Galenzoski. Coby, how are you?
I'm doing pretty good. Of course, I'm here on a Sunday. That's something I'm never normally here for because it's typically Collision. Today, it is TNA. It is New Japan. It is other events, other happenings in the wrestling world. I'm here to enjoy my wonderful discussions that I always do have when I'm on the show. When I'm off the show, they happen as well. Anyway, I'm here. I'm ready for the daily here.
You should have just gone like, when I'm not on the show, it's all boring. That's what it's like. But it's great to have you here today, Coby. And last but certainly not least, we have Soul. Soul, how are you?
Very well indeed. You know, for some reason, I've had Crying River by Justin Timberlake in my Spotify repeat all day. Don't know why. I mean, it's a very good song indeed. But, you know, TNA Hard to Kill stayed up for the whole thing. That was quite impressive. But it was overall a good show, and I'm sure we're going to talk about that. But I think before that, we've got a little segment to talk about first.
Oh, well, indeed we do. We've got to talk about the elephant in the room, if you like. And the elephant in the room is the artist formerly known as Jungle Boy, now known as Jack Perry, because he hasn't been seen since Wembley. And that was, well, quite some time ago now. We all know, or kind of don't know, what went on there. But something with CM Punk and himself happened. They both got suspended. CM Punk got fired. He's then gone over to WWE and, you know, he's having the time of his life there, seemingly. But Jack Perry, well, he has just been missing in action. We've heard nothing from him since. And then out of nowhere, last night at New Japan Pro Wrestling Battle in the Valley, Shota Umino got attacked by him, right? He got attacked by somebody from the crowd, and it ended up being Jack Perry, who then went in the ring. He pulled something out of his jacket, and it was an AEW contract, and he ripped that in front of the camera before taking out an armband and putting that on his arm, and it read Scapegoat. I mean, they're clearly trying to turn this into a bit of a storyline now. Let's be real about the situation. New Japan and AEW, we all know they have a partnership. Has Jack Perry really left AEW? I don't know if I buy that one. I think this is probably a bit of a work. But Clark, what's your thoughts on this angle?
Well, I'm really excited to talk about this one because we finally have the real bidding war of 24 right now, which is every glassmaker in Japan is chomping at the bit for Mr. Jack Perry's business. Every single one of them ready to go with the real glass on hand. We know that that's coming. Cannot wait to see it. As far as Jack Perry and his relationship with AEW, I'm with you. I think this is a work without question. Was it exciting to see him back? Yes. Was it a cool way to reintroduce him kind of slowly before you actually reintroduce him to the AEW audience as well? Yes. I think that's the brilliance of this, especially if it is a work as we've predicted. No confirmation. We don't know. It could very well be real, right? This could very well be a thing where he's left AEW and signed with New Japan for all I know. But as far as I see with my own two eyes based on last night, this is a way to sort of test the waters, let Jack Perry work, let him work on a few different things. There's exciting matchups that he could work as both a heel or a tweener or a babyface, depending on where this goes in New Japan Pro Wrestling. Shota Umino, I know Coby really smartened me up to him of late. His level of talent for a first matchup, let's talk about it. I'm in, sign me up. Can't wait to see it. All around, I think good stuff. I enjoyed not only the New Japan debut, but the surprise factor of it, right? There was a threat of surprises everywhere, and this was a fun one to me. I have no issue with it, but I would say if you are a glass worker in Japan, you gotta start making those phone calls to Mr. Jack Perry because he's ready for it.
The irony is, I'm not even sure. I can't remember many times when glass has ever been used in New Japan. So
I don't think it. I don't think it's legal.
that would certainly be
Not
quite
in
funny.
New
But
Japan.
I mean, so in other promotions in Japan, but in New Japan, I really don't know.
I don't think I've ever seen it in a Japan ring. Not once.
Yeah, it's happened in what's it called? Oh,
No,
I forgot
I
the
meant a
promotion's
New
name.
Japan ring. Like
Sorry.
it's happened in
Oh,
other
right.
promotions.
Yes.
I'm just saying
no,
I've never seen it in a New Japan pro wrestling ring.
Yeah, I have not either. But listen, a lot of people aren't happy about this. A lot of people aren't happy Jack Perry's back. A lot of people, specifically, are saying that by him doing this, he's bringing up the past. He's making people remember something which AEW fans want to forget about. And I understand that. But if you just brought him back, ignoring all of that, well, you've got to explain why he's been gone for so long. You're kind of just not acknowledging or explaining the elephant in the room. So I'm going to be honest here, I feel like they kind of have had to do this a little bit. He should not be cutting promos talking about CM Punk or anything like that, but just doing the scapegoat thing and, maybe doing a few references here and there. I think that's completely fine. And I actually like this beard. A lot of people are saying it's an awful beard, and I'm like, that's the point of it. He's meant to look like he's just been stuck in his
lost
basement.
his mind.
Yeah, for 6 months.
Yeah.
And he's completely and utterly lost his mind. But I mean, Soul, I know obviously you've got some strong opinions about this one. I mean, what do you think?
Before we get on, I need to rehydrate my lips because this is going to be a very big topic. So I got a perfect drink for this. It's definitely something that's going to be getting through.
Pepsi, Phil.
It's a bit bitter. Okay, so I love this. I absolutely love this. I remember we were on the TNA watch party last night, me, Coby, Clark, and a few others. And when that news dropped in the group chat, I was literally like, right, I know I'm going to do the posts and all that. I want to see this. I want to see what happened, what was going on. And then seeing it, I truly love it. People will moan because when Punk went to WWE, everyone was like, oh, he should reference it. He should reference it. He doesn't reference it. Everyone's like, oh, that's at this point. Now Perry's referenced it. Everyone's like, no, he shouldn't reference it. So, you're being fickle wrestling fans. Come on now.
What's new?
Exactly. What is new in this old lovely business we truly do love? But I think with Jack Perry in New Japan, it's going to be very interesting. You look at Jay White and Ospreay and what they did in New Japan and the kind of promos they can cut in that New Japan environment. They're very shooty style, and when the press conference, I immediately think to Alex Coughlin, who did that amazing promo before the G1 started. I think Perry will get a lot of benefit through there. And as well, me, I love my bets. Last year in the start of March, I bet my old Afro that Jeff Jarrett was going to win the International Championship against OC. So I thought for 2024, let's do a big one, right? Let's do a big bet. We're doing a soul bet, ladies and gentlemen. What the wager will be, you know what? I'll let the boss man decide what the wager will be, but this is my bet. By the end of 2024, Jack Perry will hold either the Never Openweight Championship or he will be the IWGP Heavyweight Championship. He will have that title by the end of the year. I'm calling it right now. Jungle Boy Jack Perry will be the top gaijin and the top man in New Japan Pro Wrestling by 2024.
That I actually think is crazier than the Jeff Jarrett prediction. I mean, the Jeff Jarrett prediction, part of me thought it might happen. This one, I think Jack Perry's making about 3 appearances and then come back to AEW. I mean, I'd love it if he stayed around for longer, don't get me wrong, I would. But I don't know. I mean, Bobby Petito suggesting the Global Heavyweight Championship. I mean, I'd love to see that against David Finlay. That would certainly be fun. And Bobby Petito was also saying that, he was surprised when Jack Perry showed up. I was too. I don't think anybody saw that happening at all, but it was certainly a fun one. We've got some people on Instagram saying that Perry's going to take a lot of stiff blows in Japan. And yeah, saying that they've never seen real glass used or any glass used in New Japan itself. But he does also doubt that he will win the heavyweight title. Well, so
I'm calling it now. Honestly, I think Jack Perry will be one of the biggest stars in New Japan with this whole kind of scapegoat character. We know why he's the scapegoat, but I think he'll lay on it very subtly. He's not going to immediately call out One Bill Phil on Raw, and then we're going to have a whole another Jinder Mahal situation again. We'll avoid that. But I truly think when Jack is ready to come back from New Japan into AEW, heck, if, say, Swerve or Ospreay is the AEW World Champion, I wouldn't mind Perry taking that off them as well. I'm going all in Jack Perry. Yeah, I like Jack Perry. Jack Perry's my boy.
Did Jack Perry trend number 2 on Twitter, though? Did he?
Yeah, but Twitter's not real. It's a false space of existence.
Whereas the modern-day Maharaja did. Jinder Mahal, soon-to-be 2-time champion tomorrow night. But what about you, Coby? What did you think about this? How are you feeling now that, well, Jack Perry's back and he's in New Japan?
I find it I found it as something we really weren't expecting, clearly. No one knew he would return to a company not named AEW. I found it interesting. I found it definitely, not necessarily that it took away some of the attention from what TNA was able to accomplish with their rebirth, but it's definitely a highlight.
Yeah.
For it to be real, I'd be shocked they were going that route. But I agree with the statement that you can't not mention, but you can't act like this isn't changing Jack Perry. Jack Perry's in the position where he has to evolve. He has to show that he was gone for a while, something big happened to him, and now he's back and able to show it. If he came back and started waving his arms around like he was Jungle Boy, I think there'd be a lot of people confused and a lot of people saying, well, what is this? This means this stupid. You can't just come back and act like you're the biggest face again, coming out to Baltimore. Exactly. There should, rightfully so, there would be a lot of people that are furious and a lot of people that are mad about that.
I do like waving my hands though. Sorry.
Yeah, but Jack Perry shouldn't. He shouldn't return and act like Kumbaya, like everything's back to normal and nothing's wrong. Hey, Baltimore is a great song. I fully agree.
It's amazing.
I was listening to it before Jungle Boy came out, but other than that, it was an interesting debut to say that he shows up. I like the look. I find it's interesting that he's the scapegoat, but other than that, I found it interesting for New Japan.
No, absolutely. It's an interesting deal, and it's interesting, for us to find out what could be next. And I mean, Clark, you want to see a babyface Bailey again, but you also seemingly want to see a babyface Jungle Boy Jack Perry, just so you can get
Mostly
these
just
arms
want to
moving.
wave. Mostly just want to wave.
Come on, Clark. Do you want to make me lose my bet? I've just started. You want me to start with a loss in 2024? Come on, man.
Maybe he wins as a babyface. Who
I mean,
knows?
he ain't gonna beat Naito. Come on, let's be real.
Come on. We didn't think
Do you
Jinder
know
Mahal
who
was going to
might?
beat Randy Orton.
Great point.
John Moxley.
Cassius Clay and Sonny Liston.
I
just
mean,
took
there
us
was a
back in the
bigger
time
chance
machine.
there because of Vince McMahon. Vince McMahon changes his
Hey,
mind
see
on a
when
dime.
I'm right, you can all just bow down to Superior. I am the winner. When my prediction becomes true, I will take the glorification and the win. You can all.
I mean, I will say this, Soul. You did predict the 4 pillars at Double or Nothing, which was an absolutely wild shout.
Hard on,
and
call.
you predicted that correctly.
Word for word.
Which was just wild. But you got that right. So who knows?
Deserves mad credit, right. By the way. No doubt. That was a call and a half.
I'm good.
Did NJF, did Tony Khan give you that scoop when you were over for that?
No, I think that was one of those brain things. He just got a message.
When I met TK at Revolution, did I just go to his ear like, hey,
told you at the dark taping.
I would like to imagine Soul took a nap and dreamed it and then woke up and immediately repeated it.
Oh, gosh. Well, let's move on. Let's talk about TNA. Total non-stop action. It is back, and it is back better than ever. There was so much hype, anticipation going into this pay-per-view, right? It was the most people have talked about TNA, let's face it, in absolutely years last night, and it was their biggest attendance in 8 years as well. And boy, oh boy, did they deliver. We're going to break down the card now, start to finish. But they opened it 100% with the right match. And that was the Ultimate X Knockout Division match. I mean, this was a lot of fun. This is how you open up a pay-per-view. This is how you get a crowd alive and get them, immersed into the action. It was absolutely tremendous. A brilliant way to start the show. And a brilliant way for them to, showcase their excellent knockout division. I complain about it every single week on AEW television about how the women don't get an equal chance. I complained about it talking about SmackDown this week. Well, in TNA, they had 3 knockout matches on the pay-per-view last night, and all of them I thought were very, very good. But this is how to open a show. What was your thoughts, Clark?
This one was super exciting to me. And if I'm not mistaken, was this the first ever Ultimate X?
No, second
all time, correct?
Yeah.
Heck of a match all around. Unbelievable spots. I thought Jody Threat stood out to me, who I've known for a long time, but was, to me, kind of the MVP of some of the big spots of the match. She just looked outstanding throughout. I love Tasha Steelz, so I have to shout out Tasha Steelz, no doubt. Just one of my favorites. Every single time I hear her interviewed too. One of the best talkers in the business, most underrated talkers in the business. And just awesome at what she does. Giselle Shaw winning, it made a lot of sense. That final spot with the, everybody up on the ropes, climbing, it reminded me of old school TNA and Ultimate X and, who's going to get there first. And you have the 2 fall and then the last woman standing in Giselle Shaw. I was fine with the result. I enjoyed the match. Like you said, heck of a way to open a show. And to me, the brilliance of it was, it didn't feel like it took away from any other match beyond it because it was very quickly wrestled. It was very, it wasn't a true spot fest, but it was spot fest adjacent. That's given the Ultimate X format, that's what you're going to get. And I think in this situation, it was executed as well as you could ask. Was it the match of the night in my eyes? No. But was it the worst match of the night? Neither. No, it was a very solid opening match, well placed on the card, well booked, and all around well wrestled. I enjoyed every minute of it. I really did. I thought it was an awesome match.
It was actually one of my favorite matches on the card, if I'm being completely honest about it.
I've got it like 3 or 4.
I did like it.
Probably 3.
Okay, no, I'll agree with that.
So that's what I'm saying is, right? Like it wasn't, because it's not a 15 match card. So I'm not saying it wasn't a high level match because it's nowhere near the bottom. It just, there were at least 2 matches that stood out to me in a way that slightly were better than this one. I wouldn't say overshadowed, because card placement made this one very memorable and easy to discuss in my eyes.
No, absolutely. It did. It was the perfect place for it on the card. I mean, Bailey's referencing, saying Danny Luna was amazing.
Yes. No,
absolutely.
Danny Luna, I should have mentioned as well when I was doing those shout outs for Danny Luna had some amazing spots in this match. She was outstanding.
And I loved how they did it the entire time, with her being, the really strong one in the match.
Right.
And I thought they did that excellent. But when she then had to climb up right at the very end, because she's, you got such a big build about her, she fell. And I thought that made a lot of sense with it too. We got Bobby Petito saying that Giselle Shaw is great, and it was great to see Xia Brookside debut in TNA. I'm so excited about that. Xia
Brookside's amazing.
She's been overlooked for so long now. And now she's got an opportunity in TNA wrestling. It's her new home, and I'm so excited to see what she is going to do there. TNA is looking exciting. I'm excited talking about it, and generally in wrestling, when you're excited talking about something, that is, a very, very good thing. And I think that's probably a good rule for life, to be honest. If you're excited about something, it's probably a good thing. But let's now move on, and let's move on to talk about the next match on the card, and that was, well, firstly, we had the entire Dirty Dango PCO tag match thing. I just said how excited I was about all of this. I don't want to get too negative.
Why is Kozlov on a TNA pay-per-view in 2024? Why is Vladimir Kozlov wrestling?
Hey, Coby.
That's all that needs to be said.
That's a former WWE Tag Team Champion right there. Put some respect on his name. I'm just saying.
You mean half Heidenreich, as I like to call him?
I usually say that I don't like tag matches when there's more than 6 people in the ring. Well, maybe I need to change it to I only like tag matches with 6 men in the ring if their combined age is under 120 or something, because this was just not for me. But anyway, let's now move on to something a bit more positive, although I did have a tiny issue with it. And that was MK Ultra against the returning DK. And yes, MK Ultra, they are fantastic, right? I was watching the other day Masha Slamovic's match in what's it called? It's completely Tokyo Joshi Pro Wrestling. That's the one, and it was truly just an absolute banger. 4.5 stars I gave it. An excellent match, one of my favorite matches of 2024 thus far. The 14 days into the year that we're in, and yeah, her and Killer Kelly, who I've been a fan of for years now. Them together as a tag team, MK Ultra, they are brilliant. They've had a great reign with these knockouts tag team titles, but they lost them rather quickly here. In 6 minutes, they lost to Decay, a returning Decay. Brilliant to have Rosemary and have Jim completely forgotten her first name. Havoc back. What is her first name actually now? Jessica Havoc. That's the one. Jessica Havoc. But brilliant to have them back. But my issue with this match kind of came down to MK Ultra being having this great reign, and you kind of ended it in 6 minutes with, not a bad match, but nothing special either. I kind of thought MK Ultra deserved more, but I'll reserve my judgment for the time being, and I'll hope they have something up their sleeve for the brilliant tag team that is MK Ultra, maybe even in singles action. But Soul, what was your thoughts on this tag team match?
It's a bit weird, wasn't it, right? Like, it just came out of nowhere. Like, because I know up to the show, they'd done the new title reveals on, like, social medias, and they were showing all of them. There was, like, a 2-day period where they released nothing, and they still hadn't released new Knockouts tag titles until the day of the show. And it was kind of like, oh, did you forget? Were they underneath the cupboard? Were they back at the pile of the shipment of rubber belts? And it was like, oh.
I think Masha was in Japan. I think that's why.
Right. I'm like, okay, there it is. If it's that, it's that. But why couldn't they have just been like MK Ultra Open Challenge, like advertised for the show? Because with how people have done this show and everyone's whole imaginary has been absolutely going mental, like universe mode was opened up. You could have had like the speculative hype. Oh, maybe it's Monet and Trinity are gonna do like a tag and they could win the belts, and everyone would be like, "Oh my God, she's not going elsewhere." And it's TNA that picked her up. Well, who knows what happened there? But I think as well, I do agree with you. Like they had this great run. Honestly, MK Ultra are really the only women's tag team I kind of know who are really killing it right now. The other one I would say was Taiji, but obviously they're not with Ty Mello having her pregnancy and everything. So it was kind of like, oh, they've had this great run and then they just lose it in a 6-minute unadvertised match where they've literally got their new titles at 2 hours maybe before the show even started. And it makes me think, like, NXT women's tag division is gone. Those belts were merged with the WWE's. WWE's division for women's tag is very, very, what's the word I'm looking for? Flimsy. You know, you had great tag titles in Isla Dawn and I can't even remember her name. What is it? Isla Dawn and is that
Alba Fire?
Bingo! There you go. Remind me, please, because I know women tag teams well. Like I thought they were great. Even Chelsea Green and Piper Niven were great. But other than that, like where can we go with women tags? Like I think it does work. If you look at Pro Wrestling Eve down in London, they pretty much got it sorted. But it makes me think, where can we go with TNA's women tag division? Who would you put together? Like maybe like Zaya Brookside and Danny Luna, maybe? Could that be a team we could see in the future? Could we maybe see something with obviously MK Ultra having like a bit of a longer feud, make this maybe a best of 6 series, maybe just to have a story behind it? I mean, you can tell I'm struggling, and I'm usually pretty good at booking matches because obviously, as you know, I'm Mr. Predict, and I predict the 4-pillar 4-way, and I will never let that down. It is my achievement to this very day on predictions. I just don't know where we can go with this.
I mean, I'm going to be honest here. They do have quite a number of women's tag teams in the knockouts division. Admittedly, a few people, have left lately, but it doesn't feel there like tag teams are just thrown together, right? It's not kind of like in WWE and AEW at times where they just throw women's tag teams together. That knockouts division as a whole, from what I understand, has been booked, quite well over the last couple of years. I think the bigger, the issue with this segment was, you're right, it was an unadvertised match which kind of felt thrown together. My guess is they didn't announce it as an open challenge because people would speculate Mercedes Moné and then maybe be disappointed when it's Decay. Whereas when it's just a complete surprise, Decay's brilliant. They're back. Fantastic. But yeah, I just felt like MK Ultra were done dirty, but I don't have concerns with the division as a whole yet. But hopefully that doesn't happen. Hopefully everything will be good, and hopefully Killer Kelly and Master Slamovich will be competing for the tag team titles real soon. Not tag team titles, world title. Well, both of them competing against each other, world title soon. That would make me very, very happy. But Coby, let's now talk about the next match, which, well, this one was indeed fun. It was the X Division. I mean, this triple threat match. Anthony said in the show the other day, he was like, you can't go wrong with these three. They're going to absolutely kill it. And, well, he was right. They really, really did. Chris Sabin, Kushida, Del Vikingo as well. It was just absolutely excellent from start until finish. Exactly what the X Division needs to be. Chris Sabin continuing his reign. And, of course, I mean, right before this match, they announced that TNA and Triple R are now in a partnership. They're in a partnership together. Well, they were kind of in one before, but now it's continuing in a bigger way, it seems. And we got to see Vikingo in this match. It was very fun, and I'm excited about it. But Coby, what were your thoughts on this one?
So for the X Division, what I saw this is like an international X Division showcase. We have Chris Sabin, who's of course American. Kushida spent a lot of his time honing his craft in New Japan. You have Vikingo working. He's the AAA mega champion. We have 3 people who are coming from all over the world, and they delivered a heck of a match. It was entertaining from start to finish. especially after the announcement, I was like, okay, this could really go either way, because you have Chris Sabin, who, of course, he's a historical name in the company for the last 20 years. You have Kushida, who was announced as one of the new signings for TNA. You have Vikingo, who is the AAA Mega Champion, and if AAA is in a partnership, he could have rightfully won as well. You could have went either way with the winners of this match. It was fine. I really enjoyed it from start to finish. It was innovative. It was good. We saw great psychology with the Kushida working on the arm and the hoverboard locks on both men. We saw Vikingo being Vikingo and not screwing up like he sometimes does. There's not much else to. I mean, the clip says itself.
Oh boy.
It was a really enjoyable match.
Wild.
I'm interested to see Chris Sabin retain. I'd like to see if they continue and do some form of Sabin versus Shelley for the X Division title, with Shelley losing the belt. Of course, that's a later topic. But I thought this is when this is when TNA was like, okay, now we are gonna play. Now we're here to show why we're gonna deliver great wrestling in the entire year. The three-way was entertaining, and it flipped that switch and it kicked it up the notch, because the first half was good but not great. This was great.
No, you're absolutely right. It was. It's what really, got everybody fired up again after that certainly interesting segment before it. Bailey says, the only positive about the 6-man beforehand was Jake something getting on the pay-per-view. I'll agree. He looked good. Bobby Petito saying MK Ultra are a great tag team. Agreed. Bailey says MK Ultra and Sean Taraj are presumably moving on to different things. Okay, so it is reasonable to worry about the Knockouts tag team division. But Bobby Petito saying, how about bringing a tag team like Allison Kay and Marty Bell to TNA? I mean, that would. I don't mind that one bit, actually. That would be very nice to see. Bobby Petito saying, I'd like to see Mustafa Ali versus Chris Sabin or Kushida in TNA.
Oh man, who wouldn't? Good call, Bob.
Money,
Bobby.
please, Scott D'Amore.
Who wouldn't?
No,
great call.
I think absolutely everybody would. But now let's move on, to another match, which was very fun, and that was Josh Alexander versus Alex Hammerstone. I said going into this pay-per-view, this was one of the matches which I was personally the most excited for, and these guys killed it. It's Josh Alexander. You don't really expect anything else from him at this point other than bangers after bangers. Alex Hammerstone has been so underrated for so long now, and he's a free agent, obviously, but I think this match shows that TNA should be where he chooses to sign with, because I think he's going to get showcased very well in TNA. AEW's rosters, it's full. WWE's roster, I mean, it's quite full as well. I really do think that TNA should be where he signs. But Clark, what was your thoughts on this incredible match?
Well, it's interesting. The match was outstanding, of course, and you expect nothing less of Josh Alexander, as you mentioned, right? Like Josh is just, he does it and he gets it, and he's just dang good. Hammerstone, I'm super interested in, right? He's a former MLW champion, and he's a free agent, but it doesn't look like he's going back to MLW. So, like you said, the options are TNA or a couple of real full rosters, whether it be AEW or New Japan, both full. WWE doesn't seem to have a huge level of interest. That's not something that anybody's heard. I don't necessarily know that. I'm not trying to knock him, but I haven't heard any Hammerstone to WWE interest. That could be interesting, because the only other option, and the reason I bring that up, Ben, is not to knock, he's not WWE worthy. The only spot after you mentioned TNA that I could think of that would make equal, if not more sense, would be NXT.
Yeah.
While he seems slightly aged out of that bracket because of his experience, I do think he could do great work on NXT. But to your point, TNA makes the most sense. And if it does make the most sense, I don't necessarily know that having a great showing and a loss to Alexander is the greatest way to introduce him to the audience before signing him. Because now are we supposed to bring him in as a signing in TNA as a huge threat in the future? And that's what scares me. And I wonder if the booking decision was made because of issues as far as getting him signed. And that's an answer we'll probably never have. But that's all I can think of as far as Alexander can take a loss as good as he is to Hammerstone or Hammerstone if they're going to bring him in, right?
Yeah.
And to have him take the loss tells me either he's not signed, not signing, or negotiations haven't gone down the exact way we would expect. And so I'll even add MLW back to the equation, even though I said it doesn't look likely. I still think it's possible because you're looking at TNA, MLW in my eyes, or like NXT or Ring of Honor. And that's kind of the four that you're looking at right now for Hammerstone, who's such a talented wrestler. But I just don't see a slot for him on main roster WWE or, like you said, Dynamite and Collision. Well, you didn't exactly say those two, but you know what I mean? You mentioned AEW's roster.
True.
And so
it is.
That's my only fear. I wish I had a better answer as far as like solutions are concerned or where exactly I think I'm going. But to me, it comes down to those four. And I don't, unless he's going to do an independent run, which would be cool. I wouldn't mind that either.
He's doing that though, to be
but
fair.
He's been doing that for long enough. I think it is time for a stable contract, and that's where I have no complaints about the match, other than if Hammerstone is a big signing for TNA, taking that loss isn't helpful. That's if I had to complain, that's the only one.
I mean, I'll say this about it though. Right? If I had the pencil, I'd have done the exact same thing because obviously he's not signed yet.
That's the issue.
But here's the thing: even if he does sign, okay, he took a loss, but he took a loss to the longest reigning TNA champion in history. So it's not like he took a loss to a mid-card talent. He lost to the best of the best.
It's Josh. No question.
The other thing to mention is Josh Alexander's scheduled to wrestle Will Ospreay at tonight's taping.
Yeah.
So does realistically, Josh Alexander taking a pay-per-view loss, then going right to Ospreay doesn't make enough sense.
No, you're right.
That's where I think could have been the ultimate hammer. Is like he's already booked to wrestle Will Ospreay. We really can't. He has to have the momentum in wrestling one of the best wrestlers.
That is a great point. You talk about the web as far as booking is concerned, right? I was just considering the Hammerstone angle, like you said, right? Everything has to be connected there. That makes perfect sense with the Ospreay matchup coming up. I agree, Coby. That's a great point.
But let's now move on. But I am very excited to see where Alex Hammerstone ends up. And Bobby Tito agrees he wants to see him in TNA. So does Bailey as well. I mean, I think that's the option. I really do. Alex Hammerstone, TNA, total non-stop action wrestling. That I think will.
He can really make an impact.
Very well. Let's now move on, and let's move on to talk about the men's division's tag team championships, because we had a four-way, and you guys know me. My usual rule is if there's more than 6 guys in a ring, I don't want to look at that ring. But I mean, this was a really fun match, as expected. ABC, they're fantastic, aren't they? I did prefer Ace Austin's old look. I've said it before, I'll say it again. I think he looked cooler and just better then. But him and Chris Bay together, they are stars. ABC, fantastic. They deserve to retain in this match. And they did retain in this match. Grizzled young veterans, to see them back, it was so fun. I wish so much that they allowed them to do a promo before this. Because what they used to do in all their matches was come out, cut a promo, then have a match. And unfortunately, they didn't get that opportunity here, so they didn't get the heat, which it's always fun to see them get, because nobody's better at getting heat than they are. But I'm excited to see more of them. Of course, Laredo, Kid, and Mike Bailey, Laredo Kid was a last-minute addition because of Trent Seven's travel issues, but they looked great in the match, and the Rascals, there's not much more to say about them. They always look great, but I thought this was a fun match, a bit messy, and that's going to happen when you have this many guys in the ring. Why I'm personally not a fan of, an eight-man tag team match. But Coby, what did you think about this one?
If I'm looking from an ultimate standpoint, the one thing that irks me is the tag division. If I were to go from last year's Hard to Kill to this year's Hard to Kill, I am seeing, just counting the big four: Hard to Kill, Rebellion, Slammiversary, Bound for Glory, and then Hard to Kill. 3 of 5 have been these multi-tag team matches. They always get this. I don't want to say they always get the shaft, but they are always getting the weird position of, we're just going to put a number of tag teams in the ring and have you have this big defense. They're normally entertaining. The one I don't know what it was. The one corner had maybe a little too much body oil. I don't know. Hammer was in the ring before. Maybe I have no idea. There were a number of botches, a number of things that didn't look clean, but it's what it needed to be. Not a fast-paced mess like a lot of them are. This had the early goings, going slow. Oh, this tag team's working on this tag team. There's psychology with this tag team. Oh, this tag team tagged themselves in, and there's a lot of decent stuff in this match. It's not a tremendous match, but it was thoroughly enjoyable to kind of separate the kind of the 4 matches that really were the top of the card, and that was X Division, Hammer, Josh, and then of course the semi-main event. I feel. But it was fine. It did what it needed to do. It was enjoyable. Other than that, there's nothing much to say. I fully agree. Zach Gibson on the mic is untouchable. That was one of the things that irked me is you took away what made him special with putting him in the schism, shaving his beard, making him not a mute character, but he never really got to be the person that talked the way he did. And I don't know. I don't know how they messed up the Grizzled Young Vets, but I'm glad
they somehow did
elsewhere. I'm glad they're flourishing elsewhere, regardless.
Absolutely, I couldn't agree more with you there, Coby. But now let's move on to talk about the Knockout Championship Trinity versus Jordynne Grace. I mean, coming into this, I was very, very excited for it, and I thought these two men put on a good match. Here's my thing about it. I felt 2 things about it. One, I felt it was slightly too short, and secondly, I felt like Jordynne Grace winning, they kind of just rushed over it and went to the main event. Her beating Trinity should feel like a big deal. Her becoming the new Knockouts champion should feel like a big deal, and it kind of just didn't feel that way. They kind of just rushed over it a bit. But what did you think, Saul?
I want to make 3 key points with this whole match altogether. So this is my 3 key points. You mentioned obviously Trinity losing. I was shocked with it itself, and it should have been a bigger deal. Like, it should have been something that was more focused on. It makes me think, what's next for Trinity? Are they going to do maybe a rematch down the line or something? But look, if this is maybe the end for her in TNA, she has done some good. She really has brought some eyes to the product with her star power. Have her come, if she wants to come back at the Rumble, do it. Number 30, lights go out, and all you see is some light up shoes walking down the way, and then it's just the music hits. Do that. Second, Ash by Elegance appearing. I had no clue who this was. I was like,
really?
Who's this? So someone pull up Cage Match. I don't know who this person is. And then someone said it was Dana Brooke. I was so shocked. I was like, these are not the same pictures. How? I was so flabbergasted. I was like, no.
She's not changed that much.
Look, I don't pay attention to WWE main event. Sorry, so I don't know what show she was on. I've not seen her too much. I'm sorry. So I didn't know who it was. But will she do good things in TNA? Hey, I'm hopeful. I'll take it. But for my 3rd point, where does Jordynne Grace go with the Knockouts Championship? Probably people are thinking Giselle Shaw is going to take it off her. I don't think so. If you want someone to take off Jordynne Grace, you want someone that's got the same kind of build as Jordynne Grace. And I think there's one person. The winner of the 2023 TNA Gut Check, Harley Hudson, who won it here in the UK. Harley, if you've seen what Harley looks like, Harley is a beast who will be able to take somebody to the ring, and she's absolutely amazing as well. Done stuff in TNT, Progress. I would have her take the title of Jordynne Grace, because I've heard so many wrestlers talk about in the UK that knockouts division, especially for the women, was such an eye opener for them getting into the business. So obviously back then the WWE had the Divas, wasn't as catering to what women's wrestling is now. Knockouts kind of always were that, with Gail King and Awesome Kong and so many great others. So I think, have a rising star, take that title and run with it. Beating somebody like Jordynne Grace is definitely something that's going to be on their accolades of lists.
I think that is a great shout. I'd love to see that match. Give me that match. Got them more. I'm excited about it. But now let's move on. Let's move on to talk about the main event. And the main event was Alex Shelley versus Moose. And I thought it was a solid main event match. I didn't think it was amazing, but I thought it was a good main event. Maybe I would have liked to seem like, get a bit more time. I thought the beginning was a little slow, and I wasn't totally hooked in until the last few minutes, if I'm being honest. Wasn't one of my top matches on this card, actually, but it was still solid. It was a solid main event match, and I'm so happy Moose is the new TNA World Champion, because he deserves it. I mean, this guy's dedicated his career to TNA, and he's so underrated. He really, really is. He deserves it so much. I'm so glad he's now back on top and is world champion once again. But of course, then Nic Nemeth, the man formerly known as Dolph Ziggler, came out, and he came into the ring. He gave a super kick to Moose. He went into the crowd and he ripped his shirt off, and he had the 3 letters TNA written across his t-shirt, and it looks like that he is TNA. I mean, what a get for them. I'm going to be completely honest. I don't think the Worlds Will Collide thing was necessary to promote him. I think You Won't Believe Who's Going to Show Up would have done it just fine. But I'm so glad he is now in TNA. A great decision by him. So what was your thoughts on the main event and, of course, the debut of Nic Nemeth?
I was honestly shocked Moose won it. I got no problem with it. I just thought Alex Shelley maybe had a bit more to give, being a TNA original and holding that championship. But what is kind of a cool fact as well, Moose has technically held the last version of the TNA World Championship that, was the double one with Kenny and Christian. Held the Impact and now held the most recent TNA Championships. That's a little fun thing for his cage match profile. Tony Khan should definitely check that out after Rampage. But with Nic Nemeth, I think Nick is a good call to have in TNA. I personally, I would have loved him in AEW just so I could have watched him every Wednesday and Saturday, maybe with his brother doing some funny stuff. But TNA, I think, will be a good place for him to thrive, get the usual time that he needs to. And he's having a match as well on Snake Eyes against Zachary Wentz as well. So that's a hell of a way to start off. So I think he'll definitely take the title off Moose down the line. Maybe if they do a Slammiversary in like a big sort of stadium, maybe, or not a stadium, maybe a big arena just to get the proper attendance records. I think they will be able to gather, because Hard to Kill had to open up more seats as like an hour or two before, and they pretty much sold near enough all of them as well. So they've done very well for themselves. So I think Nick is going to make a very good. I'm not going to say impact. That's too cliche. I'm sorry, Clark. It's just too cliche, and I really don't want to say that right now.
Big old impact.
He's going to make a good landing point in TNA, I think.
Turning point. It'll be a turning point for his career.
Be an impact moment.
He's going to be locked down in TNA for sure.
Which will be impactful.
Yes. We're not doing this, right? We're not doing this. Get on. Hands are down.
But I'm going to be honest, right? I looked at the review for the show, your brilliant review for the show this morning, Coby, and I was really shocked to see this got 4.75 stars. I thought it was a good match, but that surprised me. So I want to know, why did you love the main event, Alex Shelley, Moose, so much?
This is where we're looking at it, and I'm looking at it as a match that it doesn't necessarily have the same structure as some of the other matches we see, but it does. we see Roman Reigns has his matches. I don't want to say they take a while to get into it, but they do have a slow, they build. And that's what this match was. And I think that is an effective formula for Impact. This is a mix of styles. Shelley's athletic. Shelley's also very technical. Moose probably doesn't have either of them. He's an athletic guy for a big guy with like his size, but he is a power wrestler, and that's what this match had. It had this. It started off slow. We have Shelley working on him. But that's the thing. That's where the psychology is excellent because he's working on the arm. He's working on Moose. I think everything was knocked out of the park. There was great sequences. The crowd was really good. I thought that there wasn't any noticeable botches. Everything looked smooth. Everything looked clean. However you want to describe it. I think this was the match of the night because you could, it like I said, they're building, and then it's a lot of really good action. The second half of the match, it's solid, it's good, impactful. We saw the stuff on the outside, we saw the stage, we saw the system. I didn't know they were called that, but you had the system coming out, and then you had Time Machine. That plays into the story as well because of the dynamics that are already there. Moose is the leader. Shelley has his friends as well. I thought that was effective. We saw the sliced bread. We saw the shell shock in the outside. The hard hitting strikes were really good from all men. I thoroughly enjoyed the main event. I thought it was shocking that it was one move or one spear. Like it was one spear that put him away, and I thought we could have got another one. I don't want to say maybe it would have been higher if it went a little longer, but maybe it would have been a little more enjoyable even after that if it went a handful more minutes, got a kick out, showed that Shelley can handle Moose's offense. But I liked it all the way anyway. It was enjoyable. It was a very fun match. It was a very good match. I think Shelley did phenomenal as a champion. He showed that he could be the main champion, and I hope to see I hope that he does continue killing it in Impact because he's a heck of a talent.
He is. He's truly awesome. He absolutely is. I couldn't agree more, Coby. And I mean, maybe on the way to the title, we'll get him against Nic Nemeth. That'd be fun. I'd like that indeed. And we've got a shout here from Bobby Petito saying that he'd like to see Nic Nemeth versus Eddie Edwards and Nic Nemeth versus Josh Alexander. Again, can somebody get Scott D'Amore on the phone because I want to give him money.
Mike Bailey. Heck, Trent Seven. He could kill it with Trent. He could kill it with the Rascals. Yes. Nic Nemeth is someone who's probably going to who could really wrestle every single guy in that locker room, aside from like PCO, and kill it. PCO has a incredibly different style. It's so dangerous, and he's old. He's Frankenstein for a reason. He's old. I don't need to see PCO in a ring right now. But anyway, Nic Nemeth, I think it would have been a massive mistake if he went to AEW. This is a place where he can work in New Japan. He can work here. He can truly set the world on fire. He can prove that he was a top guy, and I think it's this. He is a top guy. It's the same thing that Adam Copeland said. Adam Copeland needed to leave WWE to be inspired. That's exactly what's happening here. Nick is inspired to perform, to elevate himself, to show that not that he was wasted for how long, but that he never got the chance to elevate himself properly. I'm excited to see his matches. I'm excited to see everything.
First of my 4 complaints, though, Coby, really don't you think they should have cut the shirt a little bit further so that he didn't have to double take the rip?
I did see that, but I mean,
he almost had it on the first try.
Fine.
I thought it looked good though. Still,
He went
I
half
thought,
Hogan and then
no, but I
Hogan.
thought that was good.
Nah,
No,
I
I
saw
thought that built. I thought they built the thing was okay. Oh yes, like I thought it teased us a little bit, you know.
No, it did.
It's the Solo
Yeah.
Sikoa camera angle all
A
over
grown
again.
man whiffed on ripping his own shirt.
It teased us. It built it up, right? I mean,
No,
a wrestling trainer once told me. I can't say the word, but wrestling is just like a certain something where you have to, you have to slowly build up to it, and then you can eventually,
I
have
get
the
This
it.
is a
big,
family show.
So I'll say
Family
this,
show.
Ben,
Come on now,
because
PG.
I know time wise. So only got a few complaints, and I got to mention Coby Galenzoski, obviously the best reviewer in the game. I respect his review 1,000%. My only complaints about the match, because I do understand there are some. The first being the whiffed rip. Just rip it on the first try. Come on, nail it. Like it's the key spot there. You got to rip it. I love Nic Nemeth, huge stud. Kent State, shout out Kent State Wrestling, absolute legend as Dolph Ziggler in the WWE. Huge fan. Was glad to see him there. My complaints about the match are this, and this is interesting because I'm a huge fan of Alex Shelley and have been for his whole career. But as a world champion and in that spot as the babyface opposite Moose, I had a hard time. I gotta say, Alex Shelley, I don't know that it necessarily fully fits him as a true babyface. He kind of scammed Moose in the opening sequence of the match to gain the advantage and get that first headlock. And I was bothered by that. It doesn't make sense. The white meat babyface putting the big scary monster under his arm in a headlock, as pretty as the headlock is, and as great as Alex Shelley is, to me, that's not something that I would have popped for in the arena necessarily. The comeback sequence I thought was outstanding. Here's my third complaint, and this is the only one that I can't get over. Why does Moose have to do a flip when he does a spear? Run through them. I understand that he's that athletic and he can do a front flip, but I don't need to see it.
Looks so cool.
It looks coolish.
It looks so cool.
I would rather
Yeah,
him run through and spike the person, knowing that he's Moose and he's that athletic. The flip to me takes away from the impact. The flip is just aesthetic.
But then it's the same old spear that everybody, absolutely
That's
every big guy in
fine.
wrestling
His name
using.
is Moose. It's like the gore. It's like all the other things. I completely understand. Personally, the flip, I've never understood. It's cool looking. I get it, but it clearly doesn't hurt the same as if a moose drives you into the floor. It's different than if a moose collides with you and then flips off to the side in a collision, right? If you hit a moose with your car and the moose flips, your car is not totaled. If moose doesn't flip, your car's totaled. And I'm just saying, right? That's the simple.
Doesn't it add from the statement that Moose is yes, it's obviously wrestling, but Moose's momentum is what's causing him to flip?
That's a fair point.
That's fair. That is fair. Well, and the athleticism is off the charts. I'm not even trying to knock him.
It's impressive
that he's capable of doing.
What's your fourth point? We've only got a minute left.
My full point is, I truly enjoyed the match. I truly enjoyed Nic Nemeth's debut. Obviously, it's no longer the zigzag. It's the knick-knack nowadays. Shout out Drizzy for sure with that one. It's the knick-knack. He hits the knick-knack. I think he's future TNA world champion against Moose. And if we get the deflected spear off of the side, I think there's nobody more agile and athletic to avoid it than Dolph Ziggler, a.k.a. Nic Nemeth. That's the way it's going to go down in my eyes. But don't get me wrong, I had to take time to complain because everybody's kind of put that one over tonight. I did actually enjoy the match, but those are my only complaints about it. And yeah, just I don't think Moose should have to flip.
Well, Anthony wrote an article on the site earlier today saying TNA is truly hard to kill, and I couldn't agree more. They proved it last night. It was an absolutely excellent show, but thank you guys so much for watching. If you're on Spotify, please leave us a cheeky 5 stars. If you're on YouTube, like and subscribe, all that good stuff. We'll shoot every single day for you guys. We'll be back tomorrow for Mailbag Monday. Submit your questions via our Instagram story. It'll be about to go up following this show. Thank you to Clark, thank you to Coby, and thank you to Soul for joining me here today. It's been a fun one, and thank you to everybody who's been in the comments on YouTube and Instagram. We'll see you tomorrow. Enjoy your Sunday evening. See you.